So I'm continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is I'm reading through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order according to events, not according to publication, so I will be jumping around a bit as I move along. For instance, I have already gone through Genesis in the Old Testament as well as part of Exodus, but to keep the chronology, I've also read the Book of Abraham and the Book of Moses in the Pearl of Great Price, as well as part of the Book of Ether in the Book of Mormon, as these all take place roughly during the same time period as Genesis. I have also read the Book of Job, which also takes place sometime around the same time as Genesis. So I am back in Exodus right now, reading chapter 18. Jethro comes to Moses, bringing Moses' wife and sons. He offers sacrifice to the Lord. Moses sits in judgment seat and hears all cases. Jethro counsels Moses to teach the law, to appoint lesser judges, and to delegate power to them. Okay, this is a little bit complicated one, but I also want to mention that in this chapter there will be a Joseph Smith translation. What the Joseph Smith translation is it is an inspired correction or translation of the Bible done by Joseph Smith to restore portions that had been lost over the years. So we will see that briefly. There's a small one in this chapter. There are more in other chapters, but here we go. Verse 1. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land. And the name of the other was Eleazar, for the God of my father, said he, was mine help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses into the wilderness, where he encamped at the mount of God. And he said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife and her 2 sons with her. Okay, let's pause here. The Joseph Smith translation comes in verse 1, where it says, when Jethro, the priest of Midian. Joseph Smith corrects this to say, when Jethro, the high priest of Midian, showing that Jethro, he wasn't just a priest. He was the leader. He was the priesthood patriarch over the tribe of Midian. Now remember, Midian is a son of Abraham. So the covenant line was Isaac, then Jacob, then Joseph, and Ephraim, and coming down. Jethro is Moses' father-in-law. He is probably of the generation of Moses' father, possibly Moses' grandfather, but probably of his father. And so you're talking Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, or Levi, Kohath, Amram's, about 5 generations down. Be about the same thing for Midian. This is 5 generations down to Midian, but he is the high priest. He is the patriarch. He is the one that in that line, he had Midian's birthright. Because even though Isaac got the birthright from Abraham, Midian's first son would inherit the birthright of Midian. It would be a kind of not the same as the main birthright, the standard birthright that came down through the fathers from Adam. That's the head birthright. That's the birthright that rules over all the family. But each of these sons would have kind of started their own birthright. They would have had their own patriarchal line as leaders of their family, just like the 12 sons of Jacob. They become known as the 12 patriarchs. They are the 12 heads of the 12 tribes. Midian was the head of a tribe descended from Abraham. And he would have had his descendants. His firstborn son would have gained his birthright and going down. So Jethro has the birthright of Midian. He is the leader of that tribe. And he's bringing, during the whole thing in Egypt, apparently, I can't remember if it actually stated it or not, but Moses sends Zipporah back. Now, I don't think it did state it. My memory's a little bit off, but I don't think it did state it. And I think what it was, because when they went to Egypt, they only had one son mentioned, Gershom. So when was Eleazar born? I get the impression that Moses, when he found out Zipporah was pregnant again, sent her back to her father because he knew of the trials they were going to be having in Egypt. Now they are reunited. Here we go, verse 7. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and did obeisance and kissed him, and they asked each other of their welfare. And they came into the tent, and Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who hath delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who hath delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods, for in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. And Aaron came, and all the elders of Israel, to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. Now, I don't think that Jethro really had any question about the power of God, but that's beside the point. Moses did obeisance to him. He was his father-in-law. He deserved some respect. As the high priest of Midian, he also deserved respect in that. We also learn from the Doctrine and Covenants, which when I get to the Doctrine and Covenants, we will see that Jethro is the one that ordained Moses to the priesthood. So there are many reasons why Moses would do obeisance to Jethro. Verse 13. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from the morning unto the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto evening? And Moses said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, This thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee, for this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt shew them the way wherein they must walk, and the work they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, and rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. Okay, let's pause this for a minute. Moses was trying to hear and adjudicate every case in the entire camp of Israel. Anytime two people had a dispute, they went to Moses. He was the prophet, after all. Why not? He'd always have the right answer. Jethro watches this one. They came, they have their feast. The next day, Moses sits down and he does this big day-long judgment. And Jethro's like, What are you doing? And Moses says, Well, they're coming to me to inquire of God. So, no, you can't. You are taking too much on you. It is going to wear you out. You are going to die young. And he gives them this plan. Teach the people, and then appoint rulers. So rulers of 10. So you have these 10 people, and this guy's the head of them. If any of these 10 have a dispute, they go to him. Then you have the rulers of 50s. So you have these 50 people with their rulers. And this person is over those 5 rulers who will rule over the 10. And so if any of these people go to the ruler of 10 and they can't solve it, you go to the ruler of 50. And if he can't solve it, now we go to the ruler of 100. If he can't solve it, to the ruler of 1,000. And if he can't solve it, then we go to Moses. And that way we reduce the strain that Moses is on, under, so that he doesn't die from the exhaustion of adjudicating all these cases. It's a great plan. I think it's funny that Moses didn't think of it himself, quite honestly. I think Moses thought he was hot stuff. He really thought, he knew he was the deliverer. He knew God had picked him out. He was going to go and save all of Israel. He believed he was this great guy. And then after he saw God in vision, remember his one quote, I love that, now I know that man is nothing. Love the quote, but you kind of get the idea that Moses still has this idea that he is the top dog. He's supposed to be doing all of this, and Jethro's saying, no, you've got to get other people to do this for you. You can't keep taking all this on yourself. And this is where Moses is getting a good lesson, because I think it was still a little bit of his own personal ego in this. So, verse 23. If thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure. And all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way into his own land. Okay, so Moses takes, but I like Jethro there. He said, look, this is what you need to do, but don't just take my word for it. This is the plan. This is what I'm suggesting you do. You go ask God, and if he approves it, you do it, because it's a good plan. And apparently Moses went and talked to God about it, and God approved it because Moses did it. And it made the governing of Israel so much better. Now, of course, they will still murmur a lot as time goes on, but it actually, I do think that the murmuring gets a little bit less with this, and it becomes more focused to specific individuals most of the time. But we'll see how it goes along. It's been a while since I've read completely through any of this, so we'll see what details I've missed. Well, what details I have forgotten. Not missed, but have forgotten. So see you in the next one.